You want to
Yeah.
have the governor and lieutenant governor run together. Why?
You know, it's just my belief that looking over the course of the state of Missouri and many of the weird things, and weird is my subjective word to describe the circumstances of having John Ashcroft and Mel Carnahan as governor and lieutenant governor, the mental gymnastics that governors would go to make sure that Mel Carnahan couldn't do anything when John Ashcroft left the state of Missouri. I mean, there were even Missouri Supreme Court opinions that had to interpret what is and what is not being out of a gubernatorial capacity, particularly as it relates to travel, not even talking about if somebody was to go under surgery or anesthesia or something along those lines. And it just, to me, that's just silly. And we see many of those same issues playing out with Jay Nixon and Peter Kinder. They were not as pronounced under Matt Blunt and Peter Kinder, but, the lieutenant governor is the lieutenant governor, and the governor is the governor. And I think when you look at states that run those two offices together, it seems to me to be a cleaner approach, and it's worked pretty well on the federal level. So I'm just giving Missourians an opportunity to let us know what they think.
Yeah. Why do you want to have the team approach in the primary as well as the general?
Well, I mean, I think you have to have a designation of, are you going to run for governor, and this is going to be my team. I'm open to changing that if there's powerful testimony or not so powerful testimony that says you run for governor and then you pick your LT. But, that's how Illinois does it. That's my understanding of the vast majority of states that do it that way have done it, but I'm not particularly wed to that particular provision. It's just a starting point.
Well, we have a federal precedent, too. I mean, president and vice president are teams.
Yeah. Very good point.
Well, I asked that because I wondered if it would be possible to have the lieutenant governor elections in the primary, much as we have now, but in the November they would run as a team. But that is there anything to accomplish that way?
Maybe. I'm not opposed to amending that as we take public testimony and ferret much of that out. You know, Bob, the one thing that I've learned in almost 12 years in Jefferson City, rarely is the bill you filed the one that ends up on the governor's desk. So I'm putting out that idea as a starting point, but not wed to any other particular capacity of, do you have to name your lieutenant governor before the primaries, after the primaries, or based upon anything like that. I think you raised some valid points that are open to discussion.
What would you think of a governor, and you'd have to really change the law to do this, I guess, what would you think of a governor candidate saying, okay, I'm going to give voters a choice, so I'm going to list 3 teams with me as the governor, but 3 other people as lieutenant governor, and let people have a chance in the primary to pick which team they want?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I guess we could look at that, but then it really gets almost to the point of, do you really want a governor that can't make a decision?
What pressure does this put on a gubernatorial candidate to name the person he wants as his lieutenant governor? And could various candidates for governor name the same person they want as lieutenant governor?
I guess if the lieutenant governor said yes and consented to it, but I think then you would have issues with, I mean, are you going to be on my team or their team? And, at least if I was the governor, I'd want somebody on my team, not somebody that, when I was a kid, we had a guy in our neighborhood, we played kickball, and he wanted to be all-time on the kicking team. He never wanted to play outfield. So I think even the electorate and many other people would say to somebody that said, I want to be all-time lieutenant governor, regardless of who the governor is, I think people would probably judge that accordingly, just as we didn't let Max play all-time on the kick team.
Yeah. Well, listen, I've got to ask you this before I get done with you. Your name keeps cropping up in all kinds of speculation every time somebody talks about somebody running for this office or that office.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any political ambitions beyond being a senator in the next year or so?
I do not, Bob. I've spoke a lot on this and said, I just got married October 15th. Very, very happy. I waited a long time in my life. Was very fortunate that Casey came into my life, and we're very, very happy as a married couple. I know that there are married couples that are able to go to Jeff City and able to go to Washington, D.C., be gone for that amount of time, but, that's not going to be me. And at this point, Casey and I are very, very happy with our prospects into the future, which include being term limited out from the Senate after this session in 2012. But, I never say never, and I've been honored to represent Southeast Missouri, and I have my views, and they are unique views. I am aware of that, but I think as you have seen, particularly over the course of the last 6 years, and you've been there, many of the things that I've spoke passionately about that may have seemed more out of the norm 6 years ago are now becoming pretty mainstream, and I think it's taken that long to talk about these things, and hopefully that trend will continue.
If you weren't term limited, would you like to have another term in the Senate?
That's a hypothetical that's out there.
Yeah.
I enjoy, and this is just me, Bob.
Yeah.
I enjoy serving in a body like the Missouri State Senate. I think much more so than I would being a statewide office holder. To me, Bob, personally, many of the people that run for treasurer, or many of the people that run for lieutenant governor, or one of the other statewide offices other than attorney general, are just doing that so that they can run for governor later. So if I was going to run for a statewide office, I would just run for governor.
Yeah.
That's why you're running. I mean, any politician can say what they're doing, but they're running to get a statewide position so that they'll have a leg up to run for governor when the office rolls around. Now, the one exception to that is I think there are people that say, I want to be a good attorney general, and I want to serve as the attorney general in the state of Missouri. But, for me, my life is with my wife in Southeast Missouri, and once the state Senate is over, which I will be term limited, and I have no problem with term limits. I think I support them. The state of Missouri made it before me. The state of Missouri has made it in spite of me, and the state of Missouri is going to make it just fine after me. We'll have to sit down and figure out what I'm going to be when I grow up, because right now I have no idea.